In basic terms, delay effects are repeats or echoes of an audio signal. They are essentially simplex reverb effects. Like reverb, they are used to add a sense of space or excitement to a sound. They just aren't necessarily realistic sounding like a reverb effect aims to be. Delay is the oldest and most commonly used audio engineering effect, and it's one worth knowing how to use like the back of your hand. Yes, there are plenty of other delay tutorial videos on YouTube. In a way, I made this one for myself. Kind of like how I did when I figured out how to export DDP files out of Reaper. Delay effects may be simple in their design, but their controls aren't all self-explanatory. So I made this video for my own benefit as well, because before I did the research and experimenting, I really honestly did not know what I was doing when it came to delays. And I'm sure I'll refer back to it if I ever get confused in the future. Plus, this video is specific to the delay plugin that I use frequently, which is EchoBoy. I'll reiterate that the only way to really learn audio is to get in there and play with this stuff. Learn what things do, try it, experiment, experiment, experiment. There really is no other way. You know, it's kind of like sex. You can read a Kama Sutra book, but all that information is not going to really sink in until the act is done. And just like every woman, or if you're a female or gay or whatever, every man is different. You need to experiment with different songs. Because what may work for one song may not work for another when it comes to any effect for that matter, or any miking position. You know, you really do have to not be lazy when it comes to this stuff. If I could go back in time, I would use delay effects instead of reverb, because that's what I used on a lot of my mixes, and it made them muddier. It didn't have the clarity, it didn't have that bigness that I'll get into later. You know, the benefits of delay over reverb are the following. They take up less mix space, like I just mentioned. They don't smear the stereo field as much as a reverb does, and therefore a mix can sound big but open. Delays are great for use in fast tempo songs that would be hampered by reverb muddying up the tracks. They add a sense of space and dimension to dry sounds without sending them to the back of the mix. This is especially important on vocals. If you've ever used reverb on vocals, you notice that the more you add, the more the vocal sounds like it's pushed back into the mix. And with delay, this isn't really the case. You can add much more delay before it starts pushing them vocals back. Delays help with stereo balancing. Delays add excitement to a mix. They give that larger-than-life quality to a track. When you incorporate delays, your mixes start sounding more professional, for lack of a better word. Like I've already said, my favorite plugin for delay is Soundtoys EchoBoy, and that's because it offers a huge variety of options, and it sounds great. A lot of people are already calling it a classic plugin because I think it came out in 2004 or 2005, and it stood the test of time. Other good delay plugins are FabFilter Timeless, Valhalla Ubermod, Waves H Delay, PSP Lexicon 42, and the free Variety of Sound Nasty DLA plugin. Why do I like EchoBoy so much? Well, if you haven't watched the video I did about EchoBoy, the EchoBoy review, go watch it. You'll really understand there. I went a little nuts in it, but that's because I just loved what this delay plugin does for me. The other reason I like it, besides the variety of creativity and professionalism, according to many people that have used EchoBoy and that use EchoBoy and that have used classic delay hardware, it sounds just like that. It sounds just like the expensive hardware for a fraction of the price. And that's another reason I love in-the-box mixing, because, I don't have this stuff sucking up electric. I don't have this stuff costing an arm and a leg. I can get the same sound that engineers in the past used to have to spend thousands of dollars on for hundreds of dollars. I mean, that's incredible right there. I wish I could find a car like that. Here's how the company that makes EchoBoy, Soundtoys, describe their secret to a good sounding delay. As for creating good sounding delay, it is commonly accepted that echoes sound, quote, better, unquote, when the repeat does not sound exactly like the input signal. Of course, there are times when you do want the delay to sound exactly like the input, but in many cases, the best sounding effect is when there are analog-like anomalies in the delay and echo along with limited frequency response. This is especially true in things like vocals, and to this day, many top artists still use tape slap or specific delay devices like the PCM42, each of which have a less than linear or flat response. But the bottom line is, they just sound really good. Okay, so all this talk about EchoBoy, let me load the plugin up. I'm going to put it on Ascend. I think it has more control when you put a delay or a reverb on Ascend, as opposed to an insert where it's in the actual on the actual track and you don't hear the dry track first and have it on a separate channel. So to do that in Reaper, I'm going to press Control T, or I can double click either way. I'm going to hit the FX button, and then I already have EchoBoy up. Double clicked on it. So here it is. Now, EchoBoy is different from other delay plugins, but the controls should be pretty similar. It may have more or less than whatever plugin you use, but again, if you're looking for the ultimate delay plugin, I really think EchoBoy is it. I don't plan on buying any other delays, and this is really the only one that I use now. If you don't have the money though, Nasty DLA from Variety of Sound is nice. And like I mentioned, Waves H delay is also another good one. Anyway, the other thing I need to do to create this as a send, I can either hit this, IO, and then change it, see where it says sends, add new send, and then 2. And if I had 2 labeled as something like, you know, delayed signal, it would actually show up so that I'm not confused. See, now it says delayed signal. When I added it, delete it, add it back in, delayed signal, or I can click IO on the actual delay track and then go to receives and then go to original signal, track 1. Okay, so I'm set up for that. The other thing I want to do, because it's a send, I'm going to change my mix knob here all the way to wet. It's 100% wet now. And my echo time, I want to put this on time, not notes, because I don't have an actual tempo. This isn't a song. This is just examples of what delay does. And my feedback is going to be minimum for now. Everything else is down, and I'm going to have prime numbers on. And my tweak, I need to put all the way, actually 12 o'clock is where I need it, width all the way to minimum, offset all the way to minimum. And I'm going to change the style to digital delay. And single echo mode. Okay, now I'm going to explain some of these better. The first thing I'm going to do, after I have everything set up to my default for demonstration purposes, I'm going to play my sound and adjust the input. The input knob's right here. So as I'm playing my audio, I'm going to adjust that so it's hitting the yellow. Echo. 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 Delay. 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 Real. Real. Ho. Ho. Okay, now I can hit Control and click, and it changes to a decibel readout, and I'm going to change my output now to match that. Now if I want finer controls, I can hold on my Windows machine, I'm going to hold the Windows key. Hopefully you have that on your keyboard. On a Mac, you hold the Apple key. Okay, yeah, so the reason I did that is I already have this set up so that ozone, which is on the master channel, is set to -11. That would have really messed with the audio too much. So now it should be back to normal. Echo. 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 Okay, so the echo style is really the heart of this plugin. It allows you to have a bunch of different ways of the way that your delay sounds. And as you can see from this list, it's pretty extensive, and I'm not going to get into it on this video. You can download the EchoBoy manual and read about what all these mean. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to keep it on digital delay and leave it there. And I'm going to control click so you can see what these say again. So that's the echo style. Like I said, it's the heart of this plugin, and you need to set it up with the input and output. You can also add saturation as well. The saturation knob is tied directly to the echo style, and really you set that based on what you hear, really. Okay, so under echo modes, which is, or just mode down here, we have single echo, which is your most simple and the most similar to classic echo effects. Dual echo, which gives you 2 independent echo channels for stereo effects, and you can set different times. You can set that based on either notes or times. You can set it based on that type of notation, dot and triplet. Let me set this to where I want it to be, which I had it before, but because I closed the plugin and now I got to change everything. Okay, now we have the Ping-Pong Echo mode, which, you know what? I'm sorry, let me go back. So this is single echo mode, and I have it up higher. I have feedback to minimum. Echo time is at about a ½ second, actually exactly at a ½ second. So let's play this. So that's what a delay is. It just plays the same signal, and I can tweak it so that the echo is quieter, or I adjust that by adjusting the track volume. So, for example, oops. My original signal is about maybe 4 decibels quieter, but if I wanted it even quieter with this track knob, I'll just bring it down. Very, very simple, and that's what it does. Now, again, dual echo mode, we're going to have this. They're the exact same time right now. But there's actually a few different things that I do need to change, but for right now, they're exactly the same. But they could be, I could set this to 1,000 milliseconds, which is a second. And this is what we get. Hold on, that's not doing what I wanted to do. I think under the tweak mode, I need to change this. There we go. It wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Now it should be. Okay, there we go. I don't know why that was changed, but yeah, this is why I'm making this video. I'm actually going to go back to my script, because I was getting off script there for a second, because I explained things a little bit better now. Okay, so again, dual echo mode is what I just showed you. It was mono because that width knob was set to minimum. I guess that's because on the other setting, when I had it on single echo, I had it on minimum as well. But yeah, now I'm gonna, if I hit Alt and click it, it goes to that position and everything's in phase. Ping-Pong Echo. Now this is interesting. It gets its name obviously from the game table tennis, or you know, sometimes people call it ping pong. And what it does is this. And the way this works is the ping time is based off the initial signal, and then the pong time is based off the secondary signal. So if I have it set to both 500 milliseconds, this will start a half second later than the dry signal, and this will start a second after the dry signal because it's this plus that. So even if this number was lower than that number, it would still be the, you know, it would still delay secondary. It's a cool little effect, and it's used in a lot of productions. And the reason it's doing it that way is because I have the feedback set to a minimum. I have that set there for a reason. And the final mode that EchoBoy features is the Rhythm Echo mode. This is their multi-tap delay setting, and according to them, it's based on units like the Eventide H3000 or the Lexicon PCM72, which are expensive hardware units. Again, this plugin simulates what you would have to pay a lot of money in order to get, and it allows you to have up to 16 taps. 16 different taps, control over them. I'm going to get more involved with this section later on, but this is an incredible tool for creativity and control, and it's pretty crazy what you can do with this. And I know you can't get 16 taps out of a hardware unit, at least as far as I know, but you can definitely do it in software, and if the hardware does do it, it's probably actually software. It's not actually completely analog. It's more than likely DSP. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to get into this later on, and I'm going to set this back to single echo mode and get into the other controls. So first of all, the two most important controls in any delay. Echo time is, again, how long it takes for the first delay to be audible after you hear the dry. So again, we have it set to a half second. That's what you get. Set this to minimum again. So it's only giving me a mono signal. My speakers are annoying me right now because they're not mono. Okay, now they are. I have a set of speakers where you gotta like tap the volume knob, otherwise it's not properly in stereo sync. It's been an issue with the thing since I got them, but I love the way they sound, so I put up with it. Anyway, delay time. This is what I wrote in the script. How long it takes to hear the first delay in relation to the original dry signal. It's the when control. When do we hear it? It can be set based on the music, and you need to obviously have your tempo set properly, or if you don't have an actual tempo, now this is where having your audio system set up properly, where you don't have a huge delay like I do. I have a huge amount of latency, as you can see up in the corner here. 2048 samples is quite a bit. So you would need to have your samples down to like the 256 range, or maybe less, maybe a little bit more, but not as much as I have it, in order to get tap tempo to work properly. And this is an easy way. You just, you know, as you're playing the music, you click this white button and it changes the tempo. You know, I know other parts of Reaper allow you to do this as well. So it says tap tempo behind the plugin. And that's all set based on this number right here. And you can set it in EchoBoy as well. But that's how to do it, like that. You just click the MIDI button and it syncs up. So if I were to change this again to let's say 100, and then click the MIDI button, now it's 100. And if I keep the MIDI button on, it probably will change. Yep, see how it updated like that? So you can keep it however you want it, and that's what that does. And to change it to notes instead of time, just click the note button or the other ones. But I usually have it either on time or on note in an actual song. And of course you can change it so it's, you know, an eighth note, a quarter note, a half note, all the way up to 164. One question you might have is, how much time is the right amount? And there's no absolute answer for this, unfortunately, because it all depends on the song, it all depends on what track you're messing with. But there are a few suggestions I can make for a blending type of delay that's subtle. I'll use something about around the range of 55 milliseconds to about 95 milliseconds. And you tuck that underneath the dry signal, and everything sounds a little subtle. Echo. Echo. Delay. Delay. Real. Home. Recording. If you set it to less than 55 milliseconds, you're going to run into comb filtering territory, which will mess with your dry sound, and it'll have like a phaser, a flange effect. So let's try that out. I'll set this to like, I don't know, 32 milliseconds. And I'll put it back up to where it was. Echo. Echo. Delay. Delay. And that screws with mono compatibility. Echo. Echo. The good thing with EchoBoy though is because of the way it works and because of this prime numbers function, that's less of an issue. We can even drop it down to like 10 milliseconds, and let's see what it does. Echo. Echo. Delay. Delay. Real. Now that's starting to sound like if I had two microphones hooked up right next to each other and I recorded into both of them. That's the type of effect that does when it gets to the really, really small numbers. Well, I'll even try 5 just for shits and giggles. Echo. 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 EchoBoy does a really good job of preserving mono compatibility. I will give them a ton of credit for that. So anyway, on to the next controls. Oh, so I wanted to add that delay times in the blend range, what I call it, 55 milliseconds to 95, they give you that in-your-face kind of sound that a dry track alone cannot. And the feedback control, and I like to use that a lot with vocals and other thing that I want in-your-face sound for, but vocals is usually the setting that I use 55 to 95 for pretty much all the time, depending on the song, of course. Now on to the next control that's hugely important. Right after echo time is the feedback control. And what this does is it controls the amount of extra echoes that you hear. If you ever heard of a feedback loop in a circuit, it's that control. It's how much feedback you're getting in that circuit. And really the best way to demonstrate this is with the click noise, the tongue click noise with the echo time up a little bit more. So we'll put this back to 500 milliseconds, and I'm gonna up the feedback and play different things. So here we go. Okay, you can set the feedback knob so high that it starts getting the actual feedback sound that you would hear from like a guitar amp, and I'll play that right now. Yes, that's a pretty cool control. Again, it's the second most important control after echo time. After the feedback control, your delay unit may have a modulation control, and what this does is it varies the delay time. So for example, if your delay is 500 milliseconds, like I have right here, it'll vary between 400 milliseconds and 600 milliseconds. This is usually denoted by a hertz range, and you set it based on really hearing. A common usage of modulation is with chorus or flange effects, and with delay times of about 60 milliseconds or less. Now, the modulation in EchoBoy is controlled by two things: the style, which it already has a built-in modulation because a lot of these are based on tape, and tape is not exactly the same, or the groove and feel controls also affect it, which I'll get into in a second. Onto these two controls, the low cut and the high cut. The high cut is also known as a low pass filter. It darkens the tone of the delay effect, and this helps with balancing the delay and making it less subtle or more noticeable. Again, it's tied to the echo style. So let's try this. Again, no feedback, half-second echo time. Oops, I had it muted. Okay, so I'm going to do a high cut to the max. Low cut to the max. It's not it's not a good example, so I'm going to go to the vocal areas so you can hear it better. Echo. 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 Delay. Delay. See that? The low cut and high cut are up so high that it's only getting the mid-range of the frequencies, so it sounds like a phone. Echo. 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 Delay. 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 So let me drop this back. So low cuts at max. Echo. 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 So now we have the mids and the high range, so it sounds a little weird. So I'll drop this back to like halfway. Echo. 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 Delay. Delay. And again, the echo styles affect this to how tape would actually do it. So it would have its built-in low cut and high cut filters just from the fact that it's tape, or whatever the other settings that you use are.